So, now we are back with the book. It's called The Frostbound Demon. So I'm gonna put it down and just read you the, just read it to you so you can have the audio. Because, well, there's no other pictures. So it says by me, there's the, prologue, The Crack in the Sky. The storm began before he was born. The villagers of Frostvale told the story in whispers, always by firelight, always after ensuring the shutters were bared. It was the kind of tale children dreaded and elders refused to admit, still haunted them. On the night the sky tore open, a child came into the world, burned black by celestial fire, skin split with glowing blue veins, horns twisting from his skull like a crown. That child's name was Bill, a name too small for the terror he carried. His mother had screamed when the lightning struck the snow, when the heavens ripped apart like glass, when fire poured through the world of winter. The midwives fled the hut before the child had even opened his eyes. They said the gods had cursed Frostvale, that the babe was an omen of the silence and ruin. When Bill's father looked upon him, his face turned to stone, not with anger, with fear. The child's left eye was unlike anything mortal, entirely black, yet in its center pulsed a heart-shaped light of glowing pink. It throbbed with each beat, like a lantern marking time. The villagers would never forget that gaze. And in the cradle beside him, though no smith had forgot it, though no hand had carried it into the hut, lay a sword. Its blade shimmered with crimson steel, veined in frost. Its hilt wound in patterns of holy leaves and sharp candy cane stripes. The sword's edge smoked with cold fire. And though it was heavy enough to split mountains, the infant's hand curled around it as though it belonged to him. They called it the Christmas Blade. By dawn, the people of Frostvale had already chosen their truth. This was no child. This was a demon left by the skycrack, a mockery of life wrapped in flesh. They left him in the snow, sword and all, believing the cold would finish what the gods had begun. But the snow did not take him. Through the storm he wailed. Through the frost, the cracks of fire burned hotter. Through the silence of abandonment he lived. And as the years ground by, the boy became a shadow on the mountainside. Whispered of, but never seen. The ghost who wandered the ice peaks. The demon of the mountain, and far above, beyond mortal clouds, the crack in the sky still smoldered, watching, waiting. Chapter 1, The Demon of Frostvale. The mountains groaned with winter's weight. Snow rolled down in sheets, burying paths, villages, and even entire forests. Wolves howled from the ridges, but their cries were softer than the whispers that spread through Frostvale. The demon walks tonight. Do not go to the mountain. Do not look into his eye. Bill had grown used to those whispers. By the time he was 12, he was already taller than most men, his skin marked with glowing blue cracks that pulsed like veins of fire under ice. The horns on his head curled sharper each year, and though he wrapped them with cloth, children who caught sight of him screamed. But what made them fear him most was not his horns, not his monstrous frame, it was his left eye, the dark void with the pulsing pink light. When he looked at people with it, their knees trembled. Some swore they heard their own heartbeats skip. And always the sword was at his side, the Christmas blade, a weapon no one could lift, yet one that Bill carried as though it weighed nothing. It had become an extension of him, humming faintly in his sleep, pulsing with the same rhythm as his cursed eye. That night, the villagers of Frostvale huddled in their homes. A blizzard was coming, but that wasn't what they feared. Tracks had been found in the snow, not human, not beast, too large, too heavy, heading straight down the mountain. Bill followed them. The storm clawed at him, tearing his cloak, stinging in his face. His breath curled in the wind like smoke. And then he saw them. Shadows. Tall. Hunched. Reeking of iron and ash. Their eyes glowed red throughout the blizzard. Frost goblins. Creatures not seen in Frostvale for centuries. Born from the very cracks of the sky that had birthed him. The villagers hadn't been wrong. That mountain really was cursed. One of the goblins raised its rusted axe, bellowing in a tongue like grinding stone. Another leapt, claws outstretched, shrieking. Bill's hand moved on instinct. The Christmas blade sang as it left its sheath. The storm itself seemed to bend around its crimson steel, frost trailing in fire patterns throughout the air. When it struck, the goblin didn't scream. It froze mid-air, shattered like glass, and its pieces burned with cold fire before vanishing into the snow. Bill landed, breath steaming, blade humming. More goblins emerged from the blizzard surrounding him. For the first time, he felt it. Not fear, not anger, something stranger. This feels familiar. Like he had fought them before. Like he had been born knowing this battle. The storm howled and Bill grinned. Fine, he said, voice echoing against the mountains. Let's see how far this curse goes. The goblins screamed and charged, and the mountain lit with fire and frost. Chapter 2. The Other World's Echo. The goblins' ashes blew away like sparks, lost in the snowstorm. Bill stood among them, his breath raged, the Christmas blade humming like it had just tasted blood after centuries of hunger. The storm began to ease. The sky above Frostvale flickered. Once, twice, like a lantern about to die. Bill's cursed eye burned. He staggered, clutching his face, and then he saw it. Not the mountain, not the snow, not Frostvale. A city. Buildings taller than mountains, glowing with glass and lightning. Strange metal birds soared through the air. Voices buzzed like insects. Thousands at once, people in clothes he did not know, carrying strange glowing panels in their hands. And in the reflection of a mirror glass wall he saw himself. But not the horned, cracked demon the villagers whispered about. A boy, 16 years old, hair messy, blue eyes bright, a human boy, normal, ordinary. Bill stumbled back, heart hammering. The vision shattered. Snow returned. The storm swallowed the sky again. What was that? He muttered, his voice shaking. For the first time since he could remember, the Christmas blade pulsed. Once. Twice. Like it knew he wasn't alone. A figure stood in the blizzard. Not a goblin. Not a villager. A girl. No, not quite. Her ears were sharp. Her hair silver. And her cloak shimmered like woven moonlight. In her hand was a staff, capped with a shard of ice that glowed faintly blue. "You shouldn't exist," she said, her voice carrying clear despite the storm. "Not here. Not in this world." Bill raised his blade, though his grip trembled. "Then where am I supposed to exist?" The girl's eyes softened, almost pitying. "On the other side of the crack, where you came from." Bill froze. His mind raced back to the vision. The city, the boy in the glasses, the strange world of fire and lightning. Another world. The girl lifted her staff, pointing it at him. Magic hummed in the air, sharp and dangerous. "But if you stay here, you'll destroy Frostville. The crack will widen, the goblins will multiply, the storm will never end." Her words burned, because he already knew they were true. The mountain had been cursed since the day he was born, since the day the crack tore open. But then, if he was the curse, what was he supposed to do? The girl's staff flared. "Choose, demon. Will you leave this world, or will I make you?" Bill clenched the Christmas blade. His cursed eye throbbed, the pink heart pulsing faster and faster. Snow burst into fire around him, winds curling in violent circles. Leave this world? The thought scared him more than death, because deep inside a voice whispered, "That city, that boy, was me." The storm roared. The girl's magic flared brighter. Bill's blade blazed with frost fire. The mountain itself seemed to hold its breath, and the crack in the sky pulsed wider than before. Chapter 3: Clash of Frost and Fire. The girl's staff shimmered. Bill's blade howled with frost fire. The storm spiraled around them, thunder splitting the peaks. And then she struck. A beam of ice exploded from her staff, slicing the blizzard in half. Bill swung his sword, frostfire meeting ice, in thunderous shockwave that sent shards of frozen air flying for miles. The ground split open, snow boiling into steam. Bill staggered, but his blade pulse grew wider, hungrier. The girl narrowed her eyes. "You're stronger than you should be. Too strong." "I didn't ask for this power," Bill spat. His horns glowed faint blue as the cursed cracks along his body flared. "But I'll use it if you're trying to erase me." He leapt back. She leapt back, her feet barely touching the snow. In an instant, spears of ice erupted in a circle around Bill, aiming for his heart. The Christmas blade sang. With a single swing, the spears shattered. Frost and fire erupted outward in a ring, turning the mountain's face into molten stone that froze solid in the same instant. The girl's cloak whipped in the wind, her silver hair glimmering. She looked at him differently now, not as a curse, but as something dangerous, something legendary. "You're not just a demon," she whispered. "You're a vessel." Bill froze. "A what?" Before she could answer, the crack in the sky pulsed again, once, twice, and from it fell shadows, dozens of frost goblins, howling as they rained down, claws glinting like knives. The girl's staff trembled. Bill raised his blade. The battle would not wait for answers, and so together, demon and mage, they fought. Chapter 4. The Mage of Moonlight. When the last goblin crumbled to ash, silence returned to the mountain. Only one crack in the sky hummered faintly above, glowing like a wound that refused to heal. The girl that lowered her staff, her cloak was scorched, her breathing heavy, but her silver eyes remained sharp. "You fight like someone who's done this before," she said. Bill leaned on his blade. "Maybe I have. Maybe that's why I keep seeing things." The girl tilted her head. "Visions?" "A city," Bill muttered. "A world with no snow, no goblins, just people. Lights. Strange magic. I don't understand." The girl went still for the first time. Her confidence cracked. "So it's true. You are connected to the other world." Bill frowned. "Other world?" She nodded, her cloak rippling in the wind. "I am Celine, a moonlight mage of the north. Our order watches the cracks between worlds. They say only once in 1,000 years does the veil thin enough for something or someone to pass through. And you think that's me?" "I don't think," Celine said softly. "I know." Bill's grip on his sword tightened. "Then tell me why. Why me?" Celine looked up at the smoldering crack in the sky, her voice distant. "Because you weren't born here. You were summoned." Bill's cursed eye throbbed, the heart-shaped light beating faster. Summoned, dragged from another world into this frozen curse, which meant the boy in that reflection, the normal human he had seen, wasn't just a dream. It was who he was supposed to be. Celine stepped closer, lowering her staff. "If you stay here, your power will tear this world apart. But if you return to the other world, perhaps you can learn the truth of why you were brought here." Bill looked down at the Christmas blade. For the first time, it felt heavier in his hands. A weapon that had chosen him before he could walk. A curse or a key. And above, the crack pulsed again, wider, waiting, watching, calling. Chapter 5, The Frozen Trial. The wind howled through the mountain pass, a knife edge of the frost that cut deeper than steel. Bill presses forward, the Christmas blade strapped across his back, glowing faintly in the storm like a heart that refused to die. Frostvale had been quiet since his battle with the goblins, but the silence was not peace. It was the silence before something greater. He could feel it, an itch in his demon blood, a pull in the growling crack above the clouds. The frozen trial awaits. The words hadn't been spoken yet. They thundered in his skull the moment he touched the edge of the ice caverns. The entrance yawned before him, jagged fangs of a white-blue crystal, a maw that seemed all ready to swallow him whole. Bill placed a hand against the cavern wall. Frost climbed up his skin, curling around his blackened veins. His heart-shaped eye pulsed once, twice, then steadied. "Is it?" he muttered. "If I walk out, I won't be the same." And then he stepped inside. The cavern swallowed sound. His footsteps echoed, carried into the abyss like whispers, fleeing into the dark. Stilicities, something like that, hung above like frozen swords, each one glimmering faintly with the reflection of his Christmas blade. The deeper he went, the stranger the air became. It was colder, yes, but not just in temperature. It was heavy, thick with memory. He could feel eyes on him, not normal eyes, something older, something buried in the ice. A voice said into his mind like silk and steel, "Child of the crack, do you seek strength or do you seek the truth?" Bill froze. "Who's there?" "Answer and you may proceed." The question hung in the air like frost. His hands curled into fists. Strength was survival, but truth. Truth was the whisper that had hunted him since birth. "Why him? Why here?" he whispered. Truth. The ice groaned as though the entire cabin had heard him. A jagged fissure split the wall before him, glowing with pale blue fire. From within the crack stepped a figure. Bill's breath caught. It was him, or rather, what he might have been, skin unscarred, eyes both human, no horns, twisting from his skull. A version of Bill that had never been cursed. The double drew a sword of light, its blade humming with warmth. "You are not me," it said, coldly. "You are what was left behind." Bill drew the Christmas blade, frost fire spilling into the cavern. "Then I'll prove I deserve to exist." The cavern erupted with battle. Steel clashed against frost fire, sparks lighting the cavern walls. Every strike of the double's blade rang with righteous fury, every swing of Bill's with raw survival. The false Bill moved with elegance, as though blessed by the gods. Bill moved with desperation, honed by years of pain and hunger. "This is what you could have been," the double strike seemed to say. "But this is what I am," Bill's parry screamed back. The fight drove them deeper into the cavern until ice shattered beneath their feet and both fell into a chasm of blue fire. They landed in a frozen lake, its surface growling from beneath as though something vast slumbered in the depths. Bill staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his lip. His double raised a sword of light, its tip aimed at his throat. "Give in," the double said. "Return to the crack that birthed you. You are a mistake." Bill's chest heaved. He felt the cold fire burning in his veins, the crack above him whispering. He saw the villagers abandoning him, the way they had cast him into the snow. "No," he growled. "I am not a mistake. I'm the answer." His heart-shaped eye flared and frostfire erupted outward in a storm. The lake cracked beneath him as the Christmas blade roared, its voice joining his own. The false Bill was swallowed in fire and ice. His scream was not rage, but acceptance, dissolving into motes of light that scattered across the cavern.
When the silence fell again, Bill stood alone, his blade heavier, but his step steadier. The voice returned colder than before. Trial complete. Strength and truth are one. Step forward, demon of Frostvale. And at the far side of the cavern, a new path opened, glowing with moonlight. He sheathed his sword. He did not smile, but his heart beat steady as he walked forward. The trial had been passed, but beyond this path, the true story of the crack was waiting. Chapter 6, Companions of Snow. The path out of the cavern opened into a plateau, blackened in white. The blizzard had quieted, but the sky above still burned faintly with the scar of the crack. Bill exhaled, frost curling from his lips as he stepped into the pale moonlight. For a moment, he thought he was alone. Then, thunk! An arrow buried itself in the snow at his feet. "Don't move, demon!" Bill's hand went to his sword, but he didn't draw. His heart-shaped eye pulsed, scanning the shadows. Out from behind a drift stepped a young woman in pale furs, a bow drawn taut. Her silver hair caught the moonlight, and her ears, long, fur-tipped, twitched. A beastkin. Her gaze was sharp as a knife. The elders said no one was to come from the frozen caverns alive. Yet here you are. Bill tilted his head. And you were waiting for me? Not for you, for whatever monster you would crawl out. Or for whatever monster would crawl out. She loosened another arrow. This one hummed with faint magic, glowing blue. Bill caught it mid-flight. The frost fire in his veins hissed as it touched him, but he snapped it between his fingers. You'll have to do better than that. The beastkin's eyes widened. But before she could fire again, a second voice rang out. "Loria, stop trying to kill every new stranger we meet." A young man ran up, carrying a longsword, too big for his frame. His scarf trailed behind him, bright crimson against the snow. He stopped short when he saw Bill, his breath fogging in the air. "Oh, you really do look like a demon." Bill scowled. "Good observation." The beastkin Leora kept her bow aimed, though her arms trembled. "Stay back, Eric. He's dangerous." The swordsman grinned sheepishly. "Dangerous people make good allies." Bill blinked. "What?" Eric sheathed his blade and stepped closer. "You came from the caverns, right? That means you survived the frozen trials. The elders say only those chosen by the rift can pass it." "Chosen?" Bill muttered. Eric nodded eagerly. "We're forming a party, an expedition to the rift. We were told we'd find someone strong enough to lead the way." He held out a hand, smiling with the kind of reckless optimism that made Bill's stomach turn. "And judging by that eye of yours, I think it's you." Bill stared at the hand. "You don't even know me." "Then I'll learn," Eric said simply. For a long moment, Bill considered cutting him down where he stood, but something in Eric's eyes, bright, unshaken, reminded him of the false self he had just defeated, the human he could never be. "Fine," Bill muttered, "but if you get in my way, I won't hesitate." Eric grinned. "Deal." Leora lowered her bow reluctantly. "This is insane. A third figure emerged from the shadows then, a girl shorter than both, her cloak patched and ragged. Her wide amber eyes sparkled with curiosity as she approached, sniffing the air. Tiny wolf ears perked atop her head, and a fluffy tail swayed behind her. "Wow," she whispered. "His aura is scary, but warm too." She smiled innocently. "I'm Kayla. Nice to meet you, Mr. Demon," Bill groaned. "This party is going to be a disaster." The four set camp beneath the cliffs, a fire crackling weakly against the biting wind. Bill sat apart, staring at the rift's glow above. Leora sharpened her arrows in silence. Kayla curled up like a fox pup, and Eric hummed tunelessly as he polished his sword. Finally, Leora broke the quiet. "Why did you accept him? You don't trust us. I can see it in your eyes." Bill didn't look at her because I can't reach the rift alone, and neither can you. She frowned, studying him. "Then what are you?" Bill let the firelight catch his horns, his cracked skin, his burning eye. "I'm what happens when the sky makes a mistake." For once, Leora had no reply, but Kayla's sleepy voice drifted through the night. "No, you're what happens when the world needs someone strong." Bill closed his eye. He told himself it was just the words of a child, but deep down, something inside him stirred. The party was formed. The journey to the rift had begun. Chapter 7. The Festival of Frostvale. The mountain path wound downward, carving throughout snowbanks and jagged stone until the lights of Frostvale shimmered in the valley below. Lanterns hung from wooden beams, their colors bright against the endless white. Music drifted faintly through the air, cheerful and warm. A festival. Bill stood at the cliff's edge, his breath misting. The village he hadn't seen since he was a child, since the night they left him to die. Behind him, Eric just adjusted his scarf with a grin. "Lucky us. Looks like we arrived in time for a celebration." Bill's hand curled into a fist. "You think this is luck?" Kayla tilted her head, her wolf ears twitching. Smells like sweetbread and roasted meat. It is lucky." She wagged her tail, practically bouncing in the snow. Leora crossed her arms. "The Festival of Frost. They hold it every year to ward off spirits, to celebrate the survival of their village." She glanced sideways at Bill. Maybe this year, the spirit they fear will arrive in the flesh." Bill's eye glowed faintly, pink light pulsing. "Let them fear." The streets of Frostville bustled with laughter and music. Children darted between stalls, clutching candied nuts. Dancers spun in circles around a bonfire in the square. The air was thick with the smell of roasted venison and mulled cider. Bill and his companions drew stares the moment they entered. His horns caught the firelight. His cracked skin pulsed faintly, and his Christmas blade clinked against his side. Whispers rippled like the frost over glass. "Is it him? No, it can't be. The demon of the mountain?" Bill ignored them. He focused on the bonfire, on the memory of fire and screams. A child stumbled into his path. She looked up, wide-eyed. Her mittened hands clutched a wooden toy soldier for a heartbeat. Silence pressed against the world. Then, "Mommy," the girl squeaked, darting back to her mother's arms. The mother's face went pale. She dragged the child away, never turning her back on Bill. Kayla tugged his sleeve gently. They don't understand. They just see what they fear. Bill's jaw tightened. Then let them choke on their fear. The mayor of Frostvale appeared on the steps of the central hall, his fur coat heavy with silver trim. His voice boomed over the crowd. People of Frostville, tonight we honor the gods who shelter us from the storm. Tonight we feast, dance, and drive away the shadows. His sword flattered when his gaze fell upon Bill. His face blanched as though he had seen a ghost. You, he whispered. The crowd turned fully now, every eye fixed on Bill. The music stuttered into silence. The bonfire cracked loudly in the stillness. Eric stepped forward, his grin reckless. Don't mind us, just travelers passing through. But before anyone could reply, the crack in the sky pulsed overhead. A ripple of crimson light fell across the village, and it came with monsters. Snow burst apart as shadow creatures crawled from the earth, jagged wolves of ice and fire, their eyes glowing red. Screams tore through the crowd as villagers fled. The mayor shouted, "The rift spawn! Defend the village!" Panic reigned. Guards rushed forward with spears, but the monsters tore through them like paper. Eric drew his sword. Finally, something I can actually hit. Leora's bow flashed, arrows of frost magic cutting through shadow. Kayla leapt into the fray with surprising speed, claws glowing. Bill stood unmoving as chaos erupted. His eye burned, his blade humming at his side. The villagers' fear had never left him, but now their screams sounded different. Not disgust, not hatred, helplessness. Bill's gaze fell on the child with the toy soldier. She was trapped against a wall, a rift spawn looming over her. Without thinking, Bill moved. The Christmas blade erupted in frostfire as it cleaved the beast in two. Cold steam hissed around him as he stood over the girl, his glowing eye locking with hers. "Run," he growled. She bolted into the crowd. The villagers stared in awe. The whispers returned, different now. The demon saved her. He's fighting them. Could it be? Bill raised his blade, frostfire roaring across the square. For the first time, the people of Frostvale saw him not as a curse, but as their protector. By dawn, the rift spawn were ash in the snow. The festival was ruined, but the village still stood. The mayor approached cautiously, his hands trembling. "You? Why would you save us? After what we did?" Bill sheathed his blade, his eye dimmed. "Because this world isn't yours to abandon, or mine. It belongs to those strong enough to protect it." He turned away before the man could reply. Behind him, Kayla whispered to Eric and Leora, "Did you see? The way they looked at him? Like he was their hero." Leora shook her head. Though her voice was soft, "No, not a hero. Not yet. But something is changing." Eric just grinned. "Told you dangerous people make the best allies." Bill walked into the snow, the crack in the sky burning above. For the first time, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, the world had a place for him. Chapter 8. Rift of Realities. The snowstorm rose without warning. One moment the air was still. The next, it howled with blinding white, swallowing Frostvale behind a wall of ice. Bill trudged forward through the gale, his companions close behind. Kayla wrapped her tail around herself, ears pinned flat. "This storm is not natural." Eric squinted, shielding his face. feels like someone's throwing the whole mountain at us. Leora's eyes narrowed. No, it's being drawn from the rift. Can't you feel it? Bill could feel it, his veins pulse, glowing faintly against the cracks of his skin. His cursed eye burned hotter than ever, like a brand pressed to his skull. Each gust of wind seemed to whisper to him, 1,000 voices layered atop each other. Come back. Return. You were never meant to be here. He staggered, gripping his head. The Christmas blade vibrated at his side, humming in resonance with the storm. Then, the sky split open. Not a small wound like before. This time the crack yawned across the heavens, stretching wide, bleeding light. Throughout it, Bill glimpsed another world. Steel towers scraping the sky, roads lit by strange light, metal beasts crawling across black stone paths, but thousands of them moving in waves, staring at glowing glass screens in their hands. He had never seen this place before, yet. His chest tightened. A memory, faint but sharp, stabbed at him. A classroom chalk dust in the air, laughter, his own reflection in a window without horns, without cracks, without glowing eyes. A boy, just a normal boy. Bill! Leora's voice snapped him back. Do you see it? He staggered. That world. I know it. The rift pulsed again, and this time something slipped through, a figure cloaked in shadows wearing a mask of white porcelain marked with crimson lines. Its voice echoed, layered and hollow. Bill of Frostvale, demon of the mountain, you are no child of this world. You are an echo, a fragment, a mistake carried through the rift. Keola hissed, claws extended. Who are you? The figure ignored her, pointing instead at Bill. That night the sky tore because your soul was cast adrift. You should have died in your own world, but instead you slipped through. You stole life from where none was meant. Bill's pulse thundered in his ears. Lies! The masked figure tilted its head. Do you not remember the name you carried before, this life you left behind? Bill's hand trembled around his sword. Images surged through his mind, flashes of classrooms, city streets, a family laughter, a name, a different name. His mouth opened before he could stop it. William? The figure's voice sharpened like a blade. Yes, William Good. A boy who died in one world and was reborn in another. That is what you are, an outsider, an isekai soul. The storm howled louder, feeding the rift's glow. Bill staggered back. His companions stared, shock rippling through their faces. Eric muttered, So, he's not just some demon? He's from another world? Kayla's ears dropped, confusing, clouding her gaze. But then what does that make him to us? Leora's grip on her bow tightened. Her eyes burned into Bill's. It makes him dangerous. If his soul isn't meant to be here, what happens when the rift takes him back? The masked figure spread its arms wide, shadows curling around it. The rift cannot be denied. Forever. The worlds are colliding. You are the fracture, William. The more you resist, the more both worlds will bleed. Bill roared, his blade igniting with frostfire. My name is Bill, and I will not let either world burn because of me. He lunged. The figure caught the strike with its bare hand. Frostfire hissed, shadows crackled, the rift above screamed with light. Then fight the truth itself, the figure whispered. But know this, every step you take will lead you closer to the end of both worlds. With a crack like thunder, the figure dissolved into shadow. The rift above sealed shut, leaving only quiet snow. Bill collapsed to one knee, panting, his eye dimmed. His companions gathered close. Kayla knelt beside him, tail wrapping around his arm. Bill, are you really from another world? He stared at the snow, memories flickering like dying candles, a name that wasn't his anymore, a life that felt like a dream. Maybe, he whispered. But this is my world now, and I'll fight anyone who tries to take it from me. The wind carried his vow into the night. The rift was silent for now. But far above, in the hidden spaces between worlds, something stirred. Watching, waiting. Chapter 9, Clash of Shadows. The night after the rift's revelation, the village of Frostvale did not sleep. Lanterns burned in every window, guards paced the walls, and prayers whispered like wind between houses. The people had seen the crack in the sky too. They had seen what fell through, and they had seen Bill standing in the snow, glowing like a wound given flesh. He sat alone at the edge of the village, sword stuck in frozen ground beside him, its frostfire dimmed. The others gave him space. Kayla watched from a distance, tail swishing nervously, while Eric tried, unsuccessfully, to calm the villagers. Leora stood atop the wall, bow in hand, eyes scanning the black horizon. Bill's thoughts swirled like the storm inside him. William Good, a boy from another world, a mistake. A masked figure's words wouldn't leave his head. And worse than that, the flickers of memory were growing stronger. A classroom, a mother's voice, a birthday cake, a life that had nothing to do with Frostvale, nothing to do with demons or swords or rifts. He clenched his fists. No, that's not who I am anymore. But the rift had other plans. The first scream split the air at dawn. Shadows. A guard shrieked at the wall. They're coming! Bill leapt to his feet, yanking the Christmas blade free. Its frostfire roared back to life, blue and crimson flames licking the steel. From the horizon, the shadows came. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Beasts made of living darkness, their forms shifting and withering, eyes burning white, rift spawn. They poured from the cracks that shimmered in the air, fractures no mortal hand could close. The villagers panicked, scattering for cover. Kayla bounced to Bill's side, claws glowing with arcane runes. Guess your isekai secret didn't scare them off. Bill smirked, despite the fear in his chest. Guess not. Eric stumbled over, hefting his hammer. I'll take the left. You just don't die, demon boy. Leora leapt down from the wall, bow blazing with enchanted fire. Bill, the masked figure isn't done with you. This is just the opening strike. As if on cue, the shadows parted, and there he was, the masked figure, cloak billowing with a life of its own, hands dripping with tendrils of darkness. Behind him loomed a colossal rift spawn, its body stretched together from pieces of broken buildings, twisted trees, and shards of ice. Its eyes glowed with the same pink light as Bill's cursed one. The figure's voice echoed deep and cold. William Good, Demon of Frostvale, today you choose, return to the rift or watch this world burn for the crime of sheltering you. Bill raised the Christmas blade, frostfire blazing like a second dawn. His horns gleamed in the light. His cracked skin glowed brighter than ever. I told you already, he growled. My name is Bill. He charged. The battlefield erupted. Kayla streaked ahead in a blur of claws rending shadows apart. Eric's hammer shattered 3 rift spawn with a single swing. Leora's arrows cut through the air, each one lighting into explosions that lit the night. Bill clashed with the masked figure in the center, their strikes shaking the ground. Frostfire and shadow collided, sending shockwaves that tore through the earth. "You don't belong here," the masked figure snarled. "I'll make my place," Bill roared back. The colossal rift spawn lunged its claw, descending like a falling tower. Bill braced. Then Leora's arrow exploded against its arm, blasting it aside. "Focus," she shouted. "We'll handle the fodder. Take him down." Bill's eye flared, pulsing pink light against the storm. He pressed harder, his blade sinking deeper in the shadow's defenses. Sparks flew, ice cracked, the masked figure staggered. But then the figure whispered a single word: "William." The battlefield froze. Bill's grip faltered. His mind was flooded with images: his family, his school, his birthday candles, a world he wasn't a demon, a world he had lost. The rift spawn surged forward, slamming him into the ground. The Christmas blade skittered across the ice, its frostfire dimming. Bill gasped, vision blurring. The masked figure loomed above him, shadows wreathing like snakes. Wreathing like snakes. "You cannot fight what you are," the figure said. "And you are not Bill. You never were." The rift cracked wider above them, spilling more light, more shadows. The sky itself groaned. Kayla screamed his name. Eric swung widely at the horde. Leora's arrows blazed, but the tide was overwhelming. Bill's hand twitched toward the fallen blade. His cursed eye blazed, his heart pounded like a war drum. Am I William? Am I Bill? Or am I both? The answer roared in his chest. I am the one who chooses. His hand closed around the Christmas blade. Frostfire erupted, brighter than ever, blue and crimson flaring into pure white. The ground split. The rift above screamed. Bill rose. His cracks blazed like molten fire, his horns burning with light. His voice shook the battlefield. I am Bill, the Frostbound Demon, and I'll tear down anyone who tries to write my story for me. The masked figure staggered. The first time retreating, the shadow shrieked. The rift trembled. The clash was far from over, but the first time the tide shifted. Chapter 10, The Final Rift. The rift screamed above Frostvale. The sky split wide like torn cloth, its edges bleeding light. Shadow poured from it in endless waves, twisting, gnashing, forming into beasts that should not exist. The ground shook as though the world itself recoiled. And at the center of it all, Bill, his frost fire blazing like a second sun. Kayla, Eric, and Leora fought at his back, holding the villagers inside the walls, buying time. But the rift wasn't slowing. If anything, it was widening, stretching toward infinity. The masked figure stood upon the ice, the cloak thrashing in the storm. His voice was both a whisper and a thunderclap. You've delayed the inevitable, William. This world cannot contain you. You are a crack in its very fabric. You belong to the rift. Bill planted his feet, Christmas blade blazing with white-hot frost fire. His horns burned with light, his cracks glowing like molten veins, his cursed eye pulsed pink, steady and fierce. I belong to no one, he growled. The masked figure lifted his hands, summoning chains of shadow that lashed through the snow. The colossal rift spawn roared, its body reforming despite every blow the heroes had landed. It stepped forward, each movement shaking the valley. Bill inhaled, chest heaving. His memory swirled of two lives, two names, two selves. William Good, a boy from Earth, soft-spoken, ordinary, forgotten. Bill, the Frostbound Demon, feared and hated, forged in in snow and fire. And he realized he didn't have to choose. He was both. And that made him more than either. Kayla, Eric, Leora, Bill shouted, his voice cut through the chaos. Cover me, I'm ending this. Kayla leapt into the fray, tearing through chains. With glowing claws, Eric bellowed and slammed his hammer into the rift spawn's knee, topping it with a crunch of ice. Leora's arrows blazed, sealing gaps in the defense. Buying seconds, precious, desperate seconds, Bill charged. The masked figure met him in the center of the battlefield, their blades colliding in an explosion of the light and shadow. The Christmas blade howled, frostfire erupting into wings of ice, burning ice. Shadows recoiled, the screaming as the masked figure strained against the assault. You can't, the figure spat, cracks forming in its mask. The rift is eternal. It cannot be closed. Bill's cursed eye flared, pink light burning like a heart of fire. His words came like thunder. Then I'll make it end. He shoved forward with every ounce of strength, every fragment of will, every memory of two lives flowing into the strike. The Christmas blade pierced the masked figure's chest. For the first time, the figure screamed, not in rage, but in fear. His mask shattered, revealing not a man, not a monster, but something in between. The reflection of Bill, twisted, broken, bound to shadow. The rift howled. The figure dissolved into smoke. The colossal rift spawn collapsed into shards of ice, and the rift itself widened. It stretched across the entire sky, spilling light so blinding the snow melted beneath it. Bill fell to one knee, sword trembling in his grasp. His power was burning him alive, his cracks glowing white-hot. Leora's voice cut through the storm. Bill, the rift, only you can seal it. Kayla's ears flattened. But if he does... Eric grimaced, gripping the hammer. He won't come back. Bill looked up at the rift, its maw reaching into eternity. He felt the pull, the call of Earth, the life he'd left behind. He could return. He could vanish from this cursed world and go home. Or he could stay and save it. His grip tightened on the Christmas blade. His chest burned with fire and frost. William Good, Bill the Demon, both. All was both. He raised his blade, voice cracking with power that shook the mountains. Frostfire severance! He cleaved upward, the strike splitting the sky itself. The frostfire surged into rift, freezing its edges, sealing its cracks. The light blazed, then dimmed, then vanished. The rift was gone. Silence fell. The storm died. The sky, for the first time in centuries, was whole. Bill staggered, cracks fading dim. His horns dueled, his cursed eye flickered. He dropped to his knees, sword embedded in the ice beside him. Kayla rushed forward, catching him before he fell. You idiot, she whispered, tears brimming. You did it! Eric stood tall, chest heaving. The rift's closed! The world's safe! Leora lowered her bow, eyes wet. But at what cost? Bill smiled weakly, his breath misting in the cold. Not a cost, a choice. And with that, the frostfire dimmed, his eyes closed. But somewhere deep beneath the snow, the crack in the sky smoldering, watching, waiting. The end.